What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a very special episode of the Eskandy Sports Podcast. I've lost count as to how many episodes we've actually done at this point, and they always get rejiggered with people's schedules and all that stuff. But guys, if you're on YouTube, you see him here, the infamous Roe Russell, tongue twister sometimes. But Roe, it's my understanding right off the top that you have something special to share today, a big announcement, perhaps.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I definitely want to let everybody know that I started prep schools back in 2000. I've been doing AAU since '89, and I enjoy it's my passion to coach, but haven't done it for so long where I do 12 months a year. Prep school and then right into AAU. I've decided to go in a different direction for prep school, and I've decided to retire from prep schools, coaching during the months of August all the way till June or May or whatever, and then go right into AAU. So now I've decided to open up my own consulting business in terms of, consulting to prep schools and organizations and athletes and all that stuff.
Well, right off the bat, congratulations. I know you said the prep was in 2000, but your basketball career, that starts before that.
Yeah.
When it comes to coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so what led to this decision? Why now? What were some of the key factors in deciding, now it's the time to move on and do some other things?
There's a lot of different factors that led into it because I love coaching and training and seeing kids go from, young boys to men, and moving on to the next level. Things like, just getting older, getting older and not having the same, vibrancy as I used to in terms of going from prep school right into AAU and training and throughout the whole year, and hopefully soon I'll be a grandfather.
Okay.
And I want to be able to clear some room out, for that next person that comes along to spoil the heck out of them. You know what I'm saying? And just I'm a big challenge guy. I like challenges, and a lot of people were hitting me up and calling me about, hey, I need a player from overseas. I need to get into a U.S. tournament. How do you do this at this prep school? How do you do? So they already hit me up about consulting. So I decided to go full time into that business, and it's a wide range of things that you do in that space. So I just decided to go in that direction. I already paid my dues and plenty more. I established Crestwood Prep to be a good basketball program and to be competitive, and now I could leave it, and whoever takes it, it's in good hands, and it keeps going.
Well, that's two congratulations then. One for the retirement and two for, being a grandfather. Is that baby just absolutely destined to play basketball?
Yeah, whatever it's gonna be, hopefully soon. It's obvious they're gonna play basketball.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in the gym. We're gonna be going to the games. We'll be watching NBA Finals, March Madness. Like, no matter if it's a girl or a guy, it's gonna grow up, being around basketball. So hopefully that's gonna make them gravitate to basketball.
Yeah, they're going to surpass whatever the parents' will is, and it's going right to grandpa. We're going right to basketball. No soccer.
Yeah, no soccer, no
It's
football.
in the off season though. We can stay fit,
For when they're younger, they
Okay.
can dabble around, with different sports and stuff. But when it comes down to it, it's gonna be basketball.
Yeah, well, there you have it, future baby. That's your future in this sport. Do you feel like you've left the prep scene at a good spot? Have you accomplished the things that you've kind of set out for, or did you have goals in mind when you started doing the prep scene, and have you hit them since?
Yeah, well, I had goals when I started it in terms of winning games in the States, being known, upsetting some certain teams that are ranked, and making a name for herself with American entities, whether it be the organizers, the scouts, the rankers, the people down there know what Crestwood is. It comes off their tongue, and they call you to get into their showcase or come up. So that stuff works. Like certain things like bringing Americans to Canada for prep school. Like that hadn't been done before. And, we were the first prep school to do that, where guys are coming to Canada rather than for Canadians go to Americans and stuff. So a lot of goals. We upset some teams, and we played really close to some other top teams and played a lot of top ranked players, and a lot of guys got scholarships and won championships and played well in other leagues and circuits, and so we did pretty good on my run. Now it's a matter of other guys taking it over, and it's a pretty good established place where they can run it on their own, and they know what they got to do. And people are even calling me, like saying, "Hey, I came to Crestwood because you were there, but you're not there." You know what I mean? So that's pretty good now. Now everyone knows what Crestwood Prep is.
What do you think the pinnacle of your tenure at Crestwood was? Is there a specific game that you're the most proud of, or something specific that you have accomplished that's like that you'll hang your hat on and be like, that's good work that we did that year or that game? Or
I think earlier on, maybe year 3, year 4, we won it was called the MPA Prep League,
right?
And we won the championships that year, and it was pretty good competition. And we had not joined the OSB yet until after that year we got an invite into it. And it was a really fun year because guys bought into, winning a championship, and there's a lot of day in the life of, and the whole focus and grind of that year, and guys got scholarships out of that year, and we were on a high cloud that year. So I think that was the year that really made us say we arrived. We put this together, we established this program, and then the next couple of years we won OFSA as well. When we were able to, because we met all the criteria. And that was the last time. We were the last team in the prep scene that can win OFSA, because after that, they made a rule that prep programs can't go into OFSA anymore.
Well, that's probably a good rule considering where prep is now. That'd be an absolute bloodbath. But is there any tournament or moment that slipped where
for sure. It's funny you say that, because one year, I think it was Elijah's freshman year, maybe sophomore year, freshman or sophomore, we were in Tennessee for a big national tournament. And we were playing against Hamilton Heights, where Shea Gilchrist Alexander went to prep school, and they were pretty good. They were ranked number 2 in the country. And we were playing really well, and we were beating.
And sorry, just sorry to cut you off, but Shay's on that team at that time?
No. Oh, okay. He was in the NBA.
That's just where he went. Yeah, okay.
Or it might have been in Kentucky. He was either at Kentucky or his rookie year in the NBA. Okay. And he and we almost beat them. We lost by 2. And it was like it was really close. I think it was we tied them. Was that it was a tie game at regulation, and we lost by 2 in overtime. And we were up the whole game, and we could have won, but we didn't protect the lead good enough, because they trapped and they get after it, and then they rushed us, and we made some ill-advised shots where we should have just kept it, because the biggest difference playing in America is there's no shot clock right now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So guys are just used to, like, after a while, they're itching to put up a shot or a layup rather than just keep it moving and waste the clock. And that's what we should have did. But we at least we proved, and a lot of guys got some really good exposure from it, because a lot of college coaches were there, and they saw our guys compete with guys. A lot of those guys on the Hamilton Heights are high major D1 now. So I think that was a game that slipped that we should have got them.
And the other thing with that no shot clock, which is the worst rule in American basketball right now, on defense too, you lose your patience. You start going gambling for steals. You have no business. You're not going to get that ball, but it's been 45 seconds. Like enough's enough.
It's crazy when you see some of the videos of the team, and the guy's just holding it there. He's just standing there by center, and he's just waiting, and the other team's just in zone, and they're looking at their coach, and they're seeing, like, should we trap him? Should we do something? And they're just, so it's become too strategic. Before there's a time where you wasted the clock, and you got good possessions when you need it, but now it's just got a hand. So I think slowly but surely, all America will go into the shot clock. So because there's some states that are going into that now, but it was ridiculous for a while.
Even the kids downstairs, they have a 24-second shot clock, Some of them are going to be in grade 9, like in the junior prep, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Get them started early, and it makes the game so much better.
Exactly, because it's crazy because like when I played, even like up to the last 10 years, it was no shot clock even in
Right.
Canada until FIBA finally came and we adopted it and so forth. But for most of my career, we had no shot clock until recently. So
yeah, I think they introduced it when I was in high school, because I remember grade 9 no shot clock, grade 10 no shot clock, and then 11, 12 we were excited to have a shot clock. It felt like more of a basketball game.
Yeah, because most teams play like with a shot clock anyway in mind. The way their pace is, the way the tempo is, they do put up shots like with shots within 20 to 30 seconds up. So it should be with the shot clock to hurry up. The game's more exciting. The game's finished faster.
Right.
There's more strategic stuff that are going on with like the clock as a pushing. Now they have like I forgot what it's called. Like with CBL, they have even like you're playing to a certain number.
Yeah, the Elam ending.
Yeah, Elam, and so you're doing this. So they're becoming really strategic with that now.
Yeah, no, and last basketball nerdy thing on the shot clock debate, but we have the rule here where the closely guarded rule, where it's like not all the refs call it, but if you're strapping them up for, I think is it 5 seconds?
5 seconds.
5 seconds, then it's a turnover. I think that's just being American rule for no shot clock. It makes no sense having it here.
No, exactly, and it's so subjective. Like, a guy, is this close enough? Is this close enough? Is this close enough?
Yeah.
And you think you're close enough to keep the count going, and then they just don't count it. And then sometimes they're not as close, and and you think they're far away, but because they put their hand out, then they start counting, and then you got to break that plane in order to stop the count. Or you got to advance the ball or do something with it, get into the basket.
Earlier you talked about having a freshman Elijah Fisher on your squad. He's a guy that stayed, who definitely had the ability to move outward. What do you think are some of the driving motives that would have kept him here, and that other players should consider before immediately jumping ship to the States?
Yeah, I mean, like all the way up from dealing with Elijah Fisher. He decided, his family and him decided to stay because I figured out the way to still get that exposure, that opportunity, that competition, that development here without having to go to the States. You could go to the States like a R.J. Barrett or Tristan Thompson or other guys that went there. But you can also stay here now. It's at a point now with the OSBA, with coaches coming up, with going down to showcases, with the gym availability, with the strong OSBA league. You can stay up here. The only thing you don't get is ranking from ESPN. That's the only thing that you don't get. But you get everything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can always go to the States. You play AAU, you go to camps, you go to All-Star games, you go to showcases. So you get that opportunity to play in the States. So it works. It works up here now. A lot of, like, look at Jamal Murray, look at Thon Maker, look at some of the other guys, Luguentz Dortz. A lot of guys played in Canada, didn't go to the States, and they're either in the NBA or on their way. So it does work.
And this is a half-baked idea I have right now, but my running theory in my head right now is like, if you're one of the top dogs in Canada and you can get the games here, it might be beneficial just to stay, so long as, like, if a team comes to see a game, like, they're here for you. You know what I mean? Like, we had Elijah Fisher and Leonard Miller play against each other, I think a couple of times, or at least once that I can recall, where that's a heavyweight battle where the teams, they traveled. If the talent's here, they'll travel here, right? So I think in a lot of ways, if you are in that upper echelons of players, like, I think you can have just as good, if not better, looks running it here.
Yeah, because you get way better looks up here because of the fact that, it's like Kawhi Leonard factor. You know what I mean? Like, he was like the most sought after, talked about. Like, he was for the whole country. Rather than in the NBA teams, is that city, that state, that part of the country. So you're a bigger fish in a smaller pond when you're up here. Then down there you might get buried, or you might be have to face politics or favoritism, whatever. So it does work. The biggest problem that happened was the pandemic. They had no games here, but they had games down there, and that made a lot of kids start looking down there again in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of getting back to normal now, where there's a season like there was last year. And, guys might still stay here because there's some pretty good guys that are still here.
Yeah.
But some kids will always want to go down to make sure. Some parents will say, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. And we know how the government is with shutting things down, but America doesn't. So just go down and make sure, but you can still stay.
I remember the basketball courts by my house had like the cap on it.
Yeah.
And then they had the garbage bag over top of that. It's like no basketball we played here today. I'm like, dude, that's such a weird fight to pick with basketball at a park. Like it got pretty dire.
Yeah, it went over the top on that stuff, and then people was like, I'm not taking any chances. You're going down. You know what I mean? But
it's hard to blame them.
Yeah, it's hard to blame them, but at least they know that you don't have to, because it's sometimes more expensive to go down, because you talk about American dollars and there's less scholarships opportunity there, and there's more politics, more favoritism, and all those things are down there when you go down. So I only recommend the kids, if they want to go down, that are like potential McDonald's All-Americans, because for sure you're going to play.
Right.
For sure you're going to play a lot. And those kind of things, but kids that just want to go down because you say I went down, then that most of the time it doesn't work out the way they think it's going to be.
I feel like there's this weird middle tier of players too that are good enough to play D1, but maybe not good enough to validate a scout for a team coming here to watch them or a coach to come down to watch, right? So I feel like and I'll say names. There's a guy last year, Pierre Mukandela, at Niagara, D1 body. He was pretty talented, and a little piece of me thinks if he played somewhere in the States, someone would have taken a flyer on him D1 there. So there's like that weird, like that 1B pool that I feel bad about.
Yeah, sure. Especially now with the transfer portal, the one-time transfer rule. If they saw his body and his athleticism and his toughness, more often, then people would take a chance on him more than here, where he's secluded in Niagara. You're not really seeing him every day, and you're doing really well up here, but you're not being exposed as much. So that's why I was like, if someone's going to stay here, if Elijah Fisher's going to stay here, we have to mimic like as if he's getting the exposure down there.
And you still have the grind session. You still have these calendar days.
Yeah, these showcase events like City of Palms, Hoop Hall, Flying to the Hoop, all these major tournaments.
Yeah.
And, you're on the phone and the emails getting coaches up here and showing them the videos. You're live streaming, and you're having matchups. You're doing everything you can to draw the coaches up here so they still get the kind of exposure they deserve and they want.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember I covered BioSteel pretty closely. I know that Elijah wasn't there for most of the weekend, and he popped in for the game and still just gave everyone buckets, won the MVP for his team. And just like, I mean, I'm assuming he was somewhere else playing basketball. You know what I mean? But like that guy, he is very special. I'm excited to see him at Texas Tech with. They have another Canadian that just transferred there too, the big guy.
Yeah, Fardaws.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a fun little matchup.
Yeah, definitely. They're gonna be ranked this year, and hopefully he's like I predicted back in the 5th, 6th grade that he'll be one and done. He'll be those guys that have an opportunity to go to the next level early, and still go to summer times to get his degree together. But he was just built for this. He was just built. The mentality, the athleticism, the toughness, the focus was always there. And now he's gonna put all the fundamentals together. He came back home the other day for a weekend just to visit family, and we went to the gym and worked out. And all those years of me telling him to get that shot, get your hand under the ball and go. He does that now. His shot's way better. And we always knew eventually he would get a jump shot. But obviously, like anyone, if you're that athletic and that strong and physical, I was always high percentage, get to the basket, dunk on that guy. That video you see that you hear that coach or whatever say, dunk that, but he kind of curses. I was that guy like, dunk that, you want to get to that high percentage. I'd rather you go to the basket and get 100% opportunity than shoot from 3 and that's at 30, 40%. But now he's putting that together, knowing that at the next level, he's now having to face zones and help sides
Exactly.
and all that stuff. So now
And also
he
the
has
guy that you're
jump
meeting
shot.
under the rim
Yeah,
is a much
exactly.
more worthy opponent than the guy
Exactly,
there.
yeah, a 6'11", 7-footer. So now he has best of both worlds, and that's going to help him for the next level. So I'm really glad that we established him into that, going downhill, being aggressive, wanted to take someone in the air and all that kind of stuff.
And you talked about the jump shot coming along. There was one day last year where the jump shot was definitely there against
Yeah.
New Horizon.
Yeah,
Was
definitely.
it 80?
No, 75.
75.
Yeah. At first, they thought it was 74, but when they reviewed the tapes,
Yeah.
they missed a foul shot.
Yeah.
So it was 75, and the basket was, that big.
He was
at
hitting
that time.
threes. That
Yeah.
was a lot of threes. And,
Yeah.
and if that's if he's 70% there,
You know what I'm saying?
with that 3-pointer, it's
Yeah. So yeah,
that's nuts.
he's continued in the gym. He loves being in the gym even to this day. Like if he could work out for 7 days a week, he
Yeah.
would. You know what I'm saying?
I want to get him one day on this podcast.
Yeah,
I want to pick his
definitely.
brain because he came up along the same lines as Zion, the same time period where we were seeing Zion in high school with this, grown man body, dunking it everywhere. And then you had almost like this miniature version of him in Elijah Fisher. He must have been like 6th or 7th grade. I remember he was playing up the street from my house, and this has got to be, at least 5 years ago, right? And the gym's packed. They want to see Elijah
Yeah.
Fisher play, and he got crowned so early, which is like obviously it panned out, and he worked hard, and he's there. But it's like, man, dealing with all of that at that young age, because like it's helpful, but it's also he must have had tons of weight on his shoulder from just a
Yeah, the great thing
age.
about all the weight that he had on his shoulder was early on, I saw from the 5th grade, I felt he's going to go far in this game.
Yeah.
And I had those meetings with his parents, and I was saying, hey, you got to help him out. You got to keep him grounded,
Yeah.
keep him humble. You got to be there to protect him and be there for him. So his mom and dad was always there. They bought in early
Yeah.
and followed my lead, and then they were able to be there to help him with all that. So it's a very tight-knit family unit.
Yeah.
So all the family members were there to make him, feel normal,
Right.
and not always be in that space where you have to like feel so pressured and stressed out about basketball. So he was able to escape a lot of times
Yeah.
and just focus on being with family.
No, for sure. Ro, so let's talk about you again.
Okay.
But part of your retirement is that you're kind of breaking up some of the responsibilities you had as a coach and just kind of making them their own little path.
Yeah.
Like being an ambassador and training. Training wise, I want to ask you first, is there anyone that you've trained that just has like a next level sort of competitiveness to them that maybe people wouldn't think of right away? I'm going to exclude Elijah Fisher.
Okay.
From this, but who are some of the best trainees, I guess, you've had, and what are the best qualities?
Over the years?
Yeah.
Over the years, let me see. It's a tough question. I got to think about it real quick. Over the years, training, I'd probably say Jacoby Neath.
Okay.
Because Jacoby, he's another guy that would want to train 7 days a week, and he trained like properly, like he'd go 100% for an hour,
Right.
and he might be saying, I'm done. I put my work in. I didn't have to train for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Just going 70, 80%. I can go hard 100% for an hour. Got all the shots up, got all the moves in, got all the finishes in, and I'm tired, I'm sweating, I'm bringing my shirt out the same way of someone that was doing it for 3 hours. So I like his mentality of training properly and effectively and still getting the same work done as someone that's doing for 3 hours.
So do you buy into the sort of workout culture of like, oh, well, I was at the gym at 3 and I was at the gym at 3 in the morning, but you only went at 9? Like, is it more of just like the quality of the workout, or do you think there's some sort of competitive angle to?
Yeah, there is. I think that there is some competitive and some mental advantage of being in the gym early or whatever. But at the same time, it is the quality of the workout. But what I do is I do pride myself at 6 o'clock workouts.
Right.
Like having Elijah Fisher go all the way down from Oshawa to Falstaff Community Center early on establishes work ethic. And I am waking up when everybody else is sleeping. I'm getting the work done. We still worked out effectively, but we established that mentality that I want to work. I don't want to sleep in and enjoy my sleep and just relax. I want to be competitive against the other guys. It's like that Magic Johnson mentality. Like, oh, Larry Bird is working out for 2.5 hours. I'm working for 3 hours. Oh, Larry Bird is working out for 3 hours. I'm working out for 4 hours. So establishing that workout time early in the morning does help. But you also have to make sure that you work effectively, because they always say that that's part of the definition of work ethic. You know what I mean? That you're working out when there's no scouts in there, there's no teammates in there, there's not a lot of coaches in there, there's not a lot of fans in there. If you want to work out and work hard, is when no one's there.
Right. From the ambassador point of view, is that something that you're spending time in now, or is that stuff you've done in the past? Like, what does it mean to be an ambassador?
Well, it's stuff over the years. Being an ambassador is something that I've done naturally. Like I've, represented certain companies. I promoted certain companies, word their brand. From time to time, I've always been Adidas guy. For a long time. So over the years, just people know, I started out back in like '91. Being we were sponsored by And One, when And One was big, and Crawford was the player that was sponsored by them. And then we went to Nike in the late '90s, and then we went to Reebok, right? And then we went to Adidas, and then we went to Under Armour,
right?
And then we went back to Nike again, and now we're with Adidas.
So you're on tour.
And the latest, one of the companies that I want to be ambassador for is Exist. Exist is an up-and-coming clothing line. A friend of mine, Justin, out of Hamilton, they have really quality clothing, and and he's really a sharp, creative guy. And I'd like to, he does really good uniforms for different teams at a good cost. So that's one of the programs or companies I'm gonna be ambassador from. And I get a lot of calls and messages on WhatsApp and Instagram about being an ambassador. So why not do that? You get free stuff, you get paid, and you get to move around and represent a company.
Good feeling getting that box of goods just on your doorstep, going through all that free stuff.
Exactly.
But no, a point on Zeist. Is it Zeist?
Exist.
It's okay, yeah. So I'm not gonna say the school, but I was, I go to like any practice within range of me. I'll go check out a team. Give the guys free pictures or whatever. But I just kind of want to know what's up with each team. And I was at one school in particular, and they were working out. The jersey deal with that school, and they were on the phone with these talking about pockets. I want it cut this way. I want to see. So that company, I can say firsthand from experience, are very, very specific. It's not just like they're just pumping out clothing and you get what you get. They're actually, they're working with the teams, and they're very, very detail oriented.
Customized clothing is very important. I like it this way. I like the cut this way. I want the stars over here. I want the neck collar over here. Like, they do really good work on that stuff, and that's why I like them. And they're quality. Like, I've stuff from them that even when we were at Crestwood, we ordered from them, and it's still sharp and clean, and the color is strong and everything. So it's a company I believe in. So that's one of the companies that we do, or I do, in terms of being an ambassador. Because people know who I am and I get around. So they felt that it's something that it would be good for me to be ambassador for their company, and so that's what I'm working towards. Getting bigger and bigger with it.
No, and there's definitely a space in the jersey space for this, because I'm pretty sure 85% of the teams go the same 5-10 guys from like Bangladesh, Pakistan, all that stuff like that. They get their jerseys come back spelt wrong, different colors, all the wrong sizes. So hopefully Exist can Exist can
exist in this in this whole.
That's probably what it is, right? That's what they're going for there.
He does a really good job, because he only, like, for instance, does a sample of one uniform. So and then he checks with you. He sends the mock or the picture of it and says, "Is this right?" And then before he does like 100 pieces or 200 pieces that are not the wrong, color or style, he does this one, and then he checks with you to make sure. Then he can say, lock it in, and let's mass produce. So
Yeah.
he's very innovative and very smart and very sharp. So we have a really good relationship.
What's your opinion on the state of prep basketball like today, uh, especially in comparison to what we have in the States? Do you think we're closing the gap, talent wise and, quality wise, or how much of a variance do you think there still is between us and the States when it comes to, the high school basketball scene?
I think there's been a big space between Canada and America in terms of being at the same level for prep. Obviously,
Yeah.
they have a more talent pool to pick from.
Right.
But with the advent of getting kids overseas now, from the Caribbean, from South America, from Africa, from
Yeah.
Europe, all over, now you can kind of close that gap because you'll get the 6'10s and the 7-footers and the athletes and all those kids you could mold if you get them at the right age. And so now that's helped us to both close the gap and get our name out. Like for instance, having Thon Maker, play high school basketball, all the Division I coaches were
Yeah.
flocking to Canada, the scouts and the media about him, so that
Yeah.
helps a lot. So over the years now with parents that played, and the people they're getting married to that were athletes as well, dual
Right.
athletes. Now you're having kids getting trainers, they're being athletic and
Yeah.
strong, and now you have the overseas guys and they're going to tournaments in the States more often.
Right.
And then now it's kind of closing the gap in terms of going down to the States and beating American teams. You know what I mean? And people wanted you to play in their events because of that. So and more coaches, guys are doing well. They're getting offered in the high major level now. So
Yeah.
we're slowly but surely closing the gap.
Yeah.
We'll never get there for now.
Right.
Because of just the sheer numbers. Like there's 35
sure.
million in Canada and there's 135 million.
Yeah.
in
There's 35 in California.
Yeah, you know what I'm
so
saying?
Yeah.
So you'll never get that sheer,
Yeah.
perfect similarity, but it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
And in some years it's better than others.
Right. So who were like the original prep teams? Were you guys in that pool?
Well, I was like the original.
Yeah.
Because when I first did prep school, it was called TAPS.
Yeah.
Toronto Academy Prep School.
Yeah.
And we were the only one.
Right.
So there was no competition or no comp for that. So we had to play because most high schools wouldn't play us. So there's a few high schools like Henry Carr and a couple of high schools that would play us. But we had to play colleges like Humber College or Centennial.
Right.
We'd play JV teams of universities, but most of our competition was in the States against American prep schools. And it wasn't until like 10 years later,
Yeah.
we were kind of 10 years before our time, where you had like Next Level and NIDA. Because there was a time where a friend of mine, or actually I coached him when he was younger, he was coaching with the national team, and he saw what I was doing, and he started that program at Eastern Commerce, and then he got the job as the cadet coach with the national team, and then he brought that same model over there, and then they had like I think it was called NIDA.
Yeah.
It was called NIDA. It was in Hamilton. And they had most of the national team players that were in BC, Calgary, Edmonton, Manitoba, where they weren't getting as much development and exposure and competition. They came over and they went to a particular high school and they started that program. So they were one of the ones that started up as well. And then other programs slowly started to come into the field.
So I guess part of the story here is that when you began in the prep scene, there's a lot of resistance, right? It's like a kind of a new concept where basketball is part of school and it's part of the 24-hour life cycle for these kids. Do you feel like remiss at all that something that you got ridiculed for quite heavily has now become just sort of common now?
Yeah, so everything I've done since the first day I started back in the 80s is like, because I was the first one to do it, it was always different, and it wasn't part of the the old boys clique, and they looked at it like, what are you doing? You're a rogue guy, and you're doing all these things. And then several years later, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
With AAU, oh, what is he doing? He's taking the talent from Canada. It's a meat market.
Yeah.
It's all these things. Then several years later, the provincial team is doing AAU. The national team is going to AAU trips. You know, it's the same thing with prep school where when I first started, it's like, I don't want to play him. He's doing this. It's never going to work. All this stuff. Now the OBA is doing prep school. They're governing the prep school. So it's funny. It's flattering for me to know that what I was thinking was what we should be doing, and sooner or later they'll catch on. So this is them catching on
exactly,
right now.
right. And a major resistance you had was, you know, the cost of putting together a prep team, right? Like it's not, there's travel, there's all these things. There's a bill at the end of that.
Yes.
A bill that would make parents uncomfortable, but it still makes them uncomfortable today.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe a couple prep programs right now that are under $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're flying, you're doing all these things.
Yeah, it's costly, you know, especially at private schools, like at Crestwood, at J. Addison, at Royal Crown, at different private schools. You know, you got to pay for that private school education as well as the basketball part of things in terms of traveling and equipment and uniforms and all these different things, the coaches and everything. And now they have academies, you got to pay for the gym, you know, all these different things. So there's costs involved. Just like they were all forever in America.
Right.
So you got to do the same thing if you want your son to get that quality experience in a prep school. And some people have kind of tarnished that a little bit because some of them were fly-by-nights or whatever. But for the majority of it, you know, they've shown that, you know, if you put your money where your mouth is and you have that resources to build from, then you can give them a pretty good product.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like they put you on the hot seat for that. When it was a new thing.
Yeah, I'm used to that.
Yeah.
It's been like that for everything. So I'm used to that because I have a mentality and God has given me that thought pattern and that vision to see ahead of time what's going to happen. I should go into stocks and bonds, you know what I'm saying? Because I know eventually they're going to figure it out and see that I was right. So I'm used to being on the hot seat. I don't mind because I know sooner or later you're going to say you are right, Ro.
Yeah.
And we're doing it too. So it's really good vindication of like what everyone was doing now.
Do you think if that CBC documentary aired today, there'd be any backlash?
No, not at all. It would have been aired today because a lot of things that CBC documentary showed was things that are like, it doesn't work. Like they're talking about online courses or they're talking about trying to do your own prep school, trying to, you know, go to the States with a visitor's visa, all these things. So it's happening now. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but the way they were saying prep school, a preparatory academy, I'm like, that was supposed to be the gotcha. That was like oh, he's starting a prep school. As if it's like some like cuss, you know, but now it's like, you're definitely not going to D1. You're probably not going to youth sports if you're not playing prep.
Yeah. I always tell kids and parents, I try not to be as direct with them, but I have to. If you're from BC, if you're from Edmonton, Alberta, Winnipeg, Nova Scotia, all the cities in New Brunswick, and even Montreal, you know, you have to go to prep.
Yeah.
You have to. Even in Ontario now, you have to go to prep because the coaches are not buying. If someone scores 35 in a regular high school game, a coach is not looking at that and evaluating that, like what happens in America. You have to go to prep. You have to. You kind of have to play AAU. You can't just play club locally and that's it.
Yeah.
You gotta get your name. Before it was good where you're saying if you're good enough, they'll find you.
Yeah.
But now with the transfer portal, the one-time transfer rule. Hey, they're finding that 23, 24-year-old guy that played for 4 years and there's another year of eligibility and he's a grown man and he's been through all that grind and all the experience, the maturity and everything. They're going for him. So you have to put yourself in that platform where you can show that, hey, I can play well against really tough competition.
The place where I still have my guard up is the junior prep, and I know all the junior teams are doing well, like, and they're actually really investing in these kids. But if you're, personally for me, grade 9, grade 10, like you're still really figuring out, is this even your favorite sport? Do you like, and it's cost aside, it's like there's social cost to it too, right? Like there's a lot of prep programs right now that aren't actually, like Crestwood has classes in Crestwood with a student body. There's a lot of schools right now that aren't, it's just the basketball boys. So it's like, unless you're a sure thing and you can tell that from a very early age, I would probably steer kids personally to have a high school experience and maybe make the decision around grade 10, 11.
Yeah. That's a good thought for the majority of people.
Yeah.
Other than some specific kids
Right.
that you know from early that
Right.
it can get there, it is pretty good to start grade 9 at your local school, go through it,
Yeah.
and then after that, decide and sit down with your parents and say,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Now let's go look for a proper prep school
Yeah.
that starting from August, going all the way till June, traveling to the States
Yeah.
in a really good platform, and I can handle academics and basketball. So that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
But in order to make a team, you have to have 13 guys.
Right.
So a lot of schools are having their
Right.
their senior prep team, and then they're gonna have their junior prep team. So
Yeah.
it's almost like they like to do that, but they're caught up with the fact that they need a feeder system.
Yeah.
They need a junior team to go with the senior team, and so they have no choice but to roll with it.
Yeah, no, and I totally get it on the school's perspective. It's just like for me, when I was in grade 9, grade 10, the people I hung out with then are still my best friends now, and we're gonna be best friends for our whole life. You know what I mean? So it's like you still got to be a kid. Make sure that you love basketball personally, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because let's go back to the CBC stuff, because we both agree now that it's a non-story if it comes out last week.
Yeah, it's a non-story because they're making a thing like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, prep schools. He's starting a prep school. Everyone's starting a prep school now. Just like it went from like maybe like say 30 prep schools in Ontario in like 2000 to like almost 100 prep schools in Canada now. So it's the way to go. I've always said way back in the day that you have to do that. And maybe because I was a trailblazer and you didn't see someone ahead of you putting it together, and you're misstepping and you're trying to figure things out. And yeah, sure, you could have did this instead of that, but like it's like the football game.
Right.
It's like being a armchair quarterback where you're saying you're seeing it after the game is being finished, and you're seeing the highlights and say, oh, he should went this route and he should have passed it this guy. It's easy to do, but when you're going through it, you're doing what you see what's the best for kids and what the best you could do, and you're going through it. So I didn't really take it as nothing. I just said, I'm just going to continue on what I'm doing, because I knew eventually they're going to see that that's
some
what
version
happens.
of this is what's going to be normal.
Exactly.
When you're looking back, is there one or two things that you're looking at? Okay, that's the thing I would have changed, and maybe people would have gotten off my back. Is there anything that sticks out?
Maybe it's hard to say because, like what they say, like for the time you had and the information you had, you did the best you could, because you're trying to put something together good. Maybe because maybe the resources and the things weren't set up, and the kids wanted it, and you probably would have said, okay, let's stop it now, revisit it when we have our ducks in a row, and then revisit it then. But all the kids are like, we want to still do it. So you said, okay, let's figure it out and try to make the best of it, because all those kids all went Division I or D2 or JUCO, whatever. So it's not like, oh my gosh, those kids just went to nothing. All of them still went where they had to go. So it might not have been perfect like how you wanted it, but it was still pretty good. You know what I mean? Because everyone still now does that same stuff that I did. They still do the same thing. So there isn't nothing specifically that I would have done differently, other than like, let's take a step back and look at all the facets and then go forward. But you're kind of caught up in the time, and everyone wanted it still, so you just went ahead and did it, and you made the best of it, which what I did. You made the best of it because kids still went to where they should go.
Who was on that team? Do I remember? Was there big players on that team? Was that the?
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins was there. And a bunch. Xavier Rathan-Mays was there. And Mikhail McIntosh. Different years, but there's some pretty good players. And you figured, hey, we played Oak Hill. We went to all these national tournaments, so they had a good experience still. Like, it's not like, oh, nothing happened. Like, it was still pretty good if you really think about it. What we did, it was still good. So you live and you learn from it, and then now I'm in a position now where, as a consultant, it's pretty good. It's helped me to be gone through those experiences, because now you're saying, okay, I can be one of those guys in the Army that says, don't step there, there's a landmine, don't step there, come over here, because you know exactly the way you should do it. So that's helped me, and that's gonna help me to be the best consultant out there, because I actually went through it rather than I read a book or watched a movie or asked someone else. I actually went through it. So now you could be even a better consultant for programs to do the right thing and go right through it.
Is this your first time like really talking about that period? Because I wanted to approach it sensitively, but I also feel like it is a full circle moment, right? Like you're able to be, like you said, you're able to be an effective consultant because you've seen the good and you've seen the bad and you've worked all the way through it. So, what are some like triumphs of that period that are maybe just lost because there was the shadow casted on it because there was a new prep program and all that stuff?
Some of the, like you said before I go into that part, you know, just the fact that, you know, you experience everything. So you know all angles. And every prep school at some point, even when I was at Crestwood, had your ups and downs, your good days, your bad days, you're figuring things out. So you're always going to be there where you're trying to figure it out. But now you have that experience, you have that contact, you have that know-how to say, okay, let's go through this, let's back up, let's go over here, let's call this person, let's do all that. So then you can help programs in that better to manage their prep school. So I would be like a really good consultant based on that, you know what I'm saying? But like I said before, a lot of great things happened. We played Oak Hill. One time we lost to Oak Hill by, I think, 3 or something like that, you know? And they were like mighty Oak
They were
Hill.
always strong,
The first time we played against them, I think we lost by like 40. You know what I mean? When the kids didn't know what's going on and they lost. And, you know, you had some guys went to the NBA or had a couple copies of the NBA, like Andrew Wiggins and Xavier Rattan-Mays and Mikal McIntosh and other guys. So you had some really good guys that with your programs that still went to the NBA, went to high major D1 and so forth. So it was pretty good. You went to some really good events, and so some really good things still happen. You know, it might have been like, a great, wonderful experience, but what prep school program now hasn't had ups and downs, you know, each day? Even America, they've had different things that kids have left, you know, coaches have changed. All these things have happened. And at the end of the day, I'm still here, you know? So I had a good run. And it wasn't for none of that why I decided to retire. It was more that, like I said before, that I paid my dues, I did my time. You know, I don't want to have to deal, because a lot of prep school coaches, most prep school coaches, unless they're younger, don't go coach for 12 months a year. You know, and I've been doing it for a long time, where I was doing prep school for the whole year, then right into AAU. Sometimes I was doing both at the same time. So, you know, now you get to relax a little bit, really, you know, look at everything. And then, like I said, a really important thing for me is to clear that space for when my future grandson comes or daughter comes around, then you can spend a lot of time with them, you know?
No, that's going to be super exciting.
That's really important, you know what I mean, for me. You know, I haven't had a young kid for a long time. You know, my older son's 32. My younger son's 28. My adopted daughter is 33. You know, so you haven't had kids for a while, so you want to be able to, you know, influence them, impact them, nurture them, grow with them, be around, you know, and see them go from a young kid to a grown woman or man. So,
And everybody listening to this now that understand and following along with us that this is not a big issue today. The prep scene is not a big issue today. At the time, there was like backlash and stuff. How low did that get for you? Like, was there ever a period where you thought, maybe I can't coach again, or they won't accept me in this community anymore?
Well, because I'm my faith in God and Jesus Christ, I was always strong-minded, and I knew that I had that inner strength and inner help. So I was never low. I was always, okay, that didn't work as I wanted to, but it still worked at some level. So let me still,
tweak
grind and tweak it and figure it out. And then when I went to Crestwood, look what happened. So what I did at Crestwood kind of vindicates where my heart was and my capabilities were, and getting that opportunity to be there. So, that stuff is like water under the bridge for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than helping and consulting for other programs that have different challenges and different decisions to make and so forth.
Yeah.
So I take it with a grain of salt that, hey, let me get I like to turn lemons into lemonade. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to dwell on that because it's not like, oh, let's bring these kids and make money and bring them away, whatever. It was like, hey, let's build something great because this guy's doing it. Let's try to do the same thing. So therefore, I don't even think about it. This is the first time I've ever talked about it since, because, it's not nothing that I sit home and talk about. I want to take the good from it, which there was a lot of good, and then do that. Like you said, now it wouldn't be an issue. Back then I was kind of like 10 years behind in front of my time. And that's why it was new and people were, talking this or that about it. But now it's like everyone's doing it. Everyone has a prep school. You know what I mean? So that's good.
And obviously very thankful that you're willing to talk about it. But I also feel like it's something that we should overcome, right? Like there shouldn't be a stain for something it's usually the other way around. You know what I mean? Where people are saying, oh, back in the day, that's just how people were. That's how people acted. That we just said those things. And then people live, they learn, and they get better at it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like almost the exact opposite situation where we did the thing earlier that people adopt later. You know what I mean? So I wanted to address it. And I feel like you've never had a chance to come out and talk about it, or it's just not something people wanted to touch on for whatever reason, or yourself, which is explainable. But I'm happy that you can talk honestly about it. And then again, it's not a big deal. It's prep.
Yeah, it's prep.
There's
prep.
Provincial governed prep activities going on downstairs right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how much of a change we are today, right?
Yeah. I was just ahead of my time. And you didn't have like someone in front of you. Now they see what I did and what other people did in America. And then it's easy to, like I said, to be an armchair quarterback and say, okay, do that, don't do that, go this way, go that way, make this faster. It's easy. But when you're trying to go out there, I should be like, looked on really good for like, hey, he's taking a great early opportunity to try to do something big for these kids. Because back then, like, hardly any D1 coaches came up to Canada, and a lot of the teams weren't that good. You know what I mean? And they started playing and having like tryouts in November. They played like 25 games, and some teams are good, some teams weren't good. So it was an opportunity to say, hey, these kids are special. These kids want more. Let's take that opportunity for them. So it's good, to look at it from that perspective. Because that's what it is. It was just new. It was just, that's the biggest thing, was new, because now it would be nothing. It's like having all these prep school coaches saying, hey, how come this didn't work? And how come your kids didn't go D1 and all this stuff? Like, what about that? At least our kids went D1, so it's all good.
Right. We're going to wrap it up quickly. Are we all good with that? We're going to wrap it up quickly. I have two more quick questions for you. What's one thing, is there anything that bothers you about this generation of prep or the prep scene now? My mind, when I was thinking of this question, was maybe it's not a fault of prep, but I do feel like the players right now are more diva-esque than hardworking.
I think that when preps first started back in like 2015, 16, 17, 18, it was more like, let's work. We got this opportunity. We got this platform. Let's work. But now it's like, I want to show you on a selfie that I'm working and get my followers up.
It seems less genuine.
And dancing, on doing all these different TikTok stuff. Like, it's not the same. Like, you're in prep because you want to get better and you want to get focused academically and basketball-wise to where you can get an opportunity to go play in Division I or youth sports at a high level or whatever. But they're kind of slowly getting away from that. And because of the lack of experience with these prep school coaches, they're kind of letting it happen rather than bring it back in and make it old school, make it pure, make it focus about what it's supposed to be about.
And the last one's going to be for the kids. What's one thing that every young hooper can work on right now to better their chances of being a successful basketball player?
Shoot the ball.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing about shooting the ball. You see Steph Curry, you see the ridiculous things that he does.
Yeah.
For a guy that's not athletic, not quick, not big, not strong, but shooting the ball that level, makes him catch up to everybody else in the NBA. And not a lot of guys, they spend more time doing windmill dunks and showboating and jellies and all these things when you got to work on your proper form shooting. You get into the gym, you start off by shooting one hand, and you do that whole 9. You put an arc on it, and everything is there. You don't just come and shoot around and talk to your teammates and, oh, show me your dunk. Let me take a picture of it, a video of it. You know what I mean? They're getting away from that. So let's get back to your form shooting. That's the most important thing. You get into the gym, get form shooting.
You ever tried jelly layup?
No.
You never just shoot it?
I ban it. I ban it.
One of those?
Back in the day when I played, it was more of a finger roll, but it was because you did it because you needed to stretch over here and get it back soft out the glass.
It's entertaining, though.
But it's entertaining, but it was kind of a fad.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't do it no more. A lot of coaches don't allow their players. They ban it. So it was more of a fad than a trend. Because the real guy that could do it was obviously the Iceman. Right. Gervin was the guy that did it, and that was him. He did it in the streets all his life, and it was effective, and he did it against anyone. He got him over Will Chamberlain trying to block his shot, and he finger rolled it, that's why it was called a finger roll rather than jelly. Jelly's too stylish because the ball could roll off the rim and roll out rather than getting away and having a soft touch. So it's a different way of looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, congrats once again, on the retirement. Congrats on being grandfather coming up, and the best of luck to all the things you do. And thank you again. So generous with your time right now.
Yeah,
I think we could have made this 4 hours.
Yeah, there's so much things to talk about, but it was good. It was enjoyable, and I appreciate the opportunity to get my word out that I'm retiring from prep basketball and using my knowledge, expertise, and know-how and experience to help other programs so they don't have to go through all the ups and downs that I did. Even though I ended up pretty good, let's get them quicker. Let's get them for the betterment of the kids.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for watching. If you made it this far, you're not subscribed yet, come on. At this point, that's like an hour of entertainment. But anyways, thanks again for the time. Shout out to KB, first time producing behind the camera. Not a lot to do, but hopefully it sounds okay.
All right.